In June of 2008, I was 18 years old. And while all of my friends were getting ready to go off to college after a successful senior summer, well, I was in and out of the hospital trying to figure out what was wrong with me. After multiple hospital visits and a few different diagnoses that spanned from muscle spasms to pericarditis to God knows what, I finally got called in to do a CAT scan. At that office, after going through the CAT scan, the doctor asked me to sit down because, according to the x ray that just came out of the machine, he did not know how I was still alive. From the CAT scan office, I was raced to the hospital by an ambulance, and I was hospitalized for 3 blood clots, one on my lungs and two that had broken off and were blocking my major arteries. The one on my lungs was the size of a grapefruit, and the ones blocking my arteries were about the size of a golf ball. I was 18 years old. I didn't know what to do. From that moment on, my doctors told me that surprise pregnancies weren't going to be a thing for me. So in 2014, when I was pregnant with my kid, obviously I went to the doctor as soon as I could. My first checkup was at 5 weeks, so early that my doctor was surprised that I knew I was pregnant. From that 5 week checkup, I received two ultrasounds, one vaginal and one over the stomach because of my condition. Due to my condition, I was placed on self-injections of Lovenox, which is a blood thinner, and I would be on that injection until 35 weeks when I was switched over to heparin because heparin was reversible in the event of an incident. Despite having those two ultrasounds, when I went to go do my gender scan at 28 weeks, I was rushed again directly to the hospital. I was told that my cervix was short and that I was at risk of giving birth. The plan was to put me on an inversion table and perform a cerclage. Upon getting to the hospital, the nurse was very rude. She was actually on a personal phone call with another employee. Me standing there with my soon to be husband, not sure what was going on because I only went to the doctor to find out if I was having a boy or a girl. Couldn't even really celebrate the news that I was pregnant with a little girl because, again, I was rushed to the hospital, told not to go home, not to get a change of clothes, but to go directly to the hospital. After that nurse finished her very personal phone call, we got checked into a room. From there, I later found out that the doctors thought that cerclage was not the right course of action due to how far along I was in the pregnancy. They were scared of rupturing a membrane, but nobody told me that until I asked. They sent in a doctor from the NICU because they felt I was at risk of giving birth early, and that doctor wanted to give me steroid injections directly to the baby to strengthen her lungs in the event that we gave birth early. Had a conversation with my husband, and we decided that wasn't the course of action for us. We were going to do everything up into those injections. And unfortunately, if that pregnancy did not make it to term, we would be okay. We would heal and we would try again. After telling that doctor that information, he stood at the foot of my bed and yelled at me. Not only did he yell at me, but he told me that parents should have to take tests in order to be parents because what we were doing was not right. Fortunately, after that doctor was kicked out of the room, I got me some better ones. And I did carry until 39 weeks to the exact day. I made it to the hospital, and immediately within 15 minutes of being at the hospital, I was hooked up to Pitocin. I asked the nurse, what if Pitocin was not part of my birthing plan? She said, well, the side effect of the medicine that you were on to keep your baby in due to your short cervix is that labor could go on forever, and we just don't have time for that. I was never given an option to see what labor looked like without being induced. I was just hooked up. Luckily, I had a healthy baby who suffered none of the side effects listed on any of the medicine that I had to take during my pregnancy and for labor and delivery. However, that's not the case for millions of women. I tell you all of these things because I went through this at a time when women's rights weren't on the table. Roe v. Wade was still being upheld, and I still had a horrible experience. After that doctor yelled at me and sent me home telling me that I was unfit to be a mother at 28 weeks, scared to death about whether or not I was going to be able to carry my baby that I was forming a bond with in my stomach to term, I got a bill from insurance. They charged me for labor and delivery, so much so that when I called insurance to rectify the situation, they told me, congratulations on your new bundle of joy. I had to say, I'm still pregnant. Again, all of these things happened in a world prior to Trump. All of these things happened in a world where women still have autonomy over their body. I could not imagine having to go through that in a world where Roe v. Wade is overturned, where men get to have a say over what is right for us and what is wrong for us. I'm voting for Kamala Harris because I believe in having the right to choose what is right for me. Maybe you're not a woman, but I know you know one. And you have no right to tell her what she should do with her body, no more than the government has the right to tell her what she should do for her body. A vote for Donald Trump, a choice to not vote is a vote for Donald Trump. And all of those choices hurt the women that you may know, whether that be your wife, your daughter, your grandmother, your auntie, your great grandmother, your big mama, as some of us call her. This November 5th, we have to choose autonomy. We have to choose the right thing. Morality is on the ballot. And if you have any, vote for Kamala Harris.